I think it was pretty revealing when the FA announced the injury that Keira Walsh had suffered after that Denmark game. They took the step of specifying what it wasn't rather than what it was. And if you think about that for a second, it's very uncommon for what you would do normally in football. You would state the injury someone's had, but while they were still working out to find out exactly what Keira had done, the FA came out and said she hadn't suffered an ACL injury, which is the anterior cruciate ligament in your knee. And I think that says a lot about where we are in the women's game right now. The ACL injury issue is very much the talk of the game. It is the injury that players fear. It is a massive problem. And when Walsh went down, the first thing that everyone thought, in that stadium in Sydney, was she had done her ACL. And thankfully the good news is she hasn't, but it doesn't get away from the fact that for women's football, there is a wider problem that they need to sort here. We noticed it after the game when we were talking to players. We heard from Rachel Daly, who said, don't mention those three letters to me. That is what everyone fears. And it's because it is really as big a problem as it is being made out to be. For England, there's no Beth Mead at this World Cup. There's no Leah Williamson. But wider than that, it is a really big issue. The Ballon d'Or list for the top 20 players in the world last year who were nominated for that award, 5 out of those 20 players picked up ACL injuries. And it is a specific thing to the women's game, and this is why there are being calls for more research, more needs to be done. And I think that's probably the biggest issue that needs to be addressed, and is the heart of the problem, is that we need more research. You speak to anyone in the women's game, they say there isn't a clear answer yet as what the issue is. We know some factors, and they really sort of boil down to external and internal is probably a way of putting it. So in terms of the internal, there are certain things with the female body that mean they are more at risk of having ACL injuries, and that's just from the anatomy and the physiology of where they're made up. Females have wider hips, so it means the angle coming towards the knee puts more load on it, and they naturally have more ACL injuries. So that's something that, in a way, you can't really do anything about. That's natural. But there are external factors, as they are called, where things that people think we can change. And you look at something like the schedule. For these players playing at this World Cup, it's their third major tournament in a row. They had the 2021 Olympics, they had the Euros last summer, they're now playing the World Cup. Next summer it's Olympics, summer after that it's the Euros. That is a big schedule to be putting on players and something they have to deal with. But beyond that, we've got factors like pitches that people are looking at. We've got talk about boots. There's actually a very interesting study recently from the European Club Association, who surveyed a lot of players from Europe's top leagues. I think it was over sort of 300 players, and 80% of those, over 80%, said they're in pain when they're playing football. Their boots are causing them issues, and big brands are responding. Just before this World Cup, Nike brought out their first dedicated football boot for female players. Puma have pledged to invest and try and find out why this is an ACL issue. But it all boils down to, right now, we don't have a definitive answer to the question. Until we get that answer, the calls for something to be done, for people to find a solution, are only going to get louder.